Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Garden Shed podcast. And in this episode today, I'm going to have a chat with you guys about advertising. So it's going to be a standalone episode, and I'm going to spend most of this episode talking about advertising, what I have done over the years, more specifically what I am doing in the future, and I'm going to talk a little bit later on about eating my own words, because I've been doing something which I never thought I'd be doing. I'm going to talk about that. So, like with anything, let's get on with it then, shall we? So, advertising, I think it's one of the most important things for your business. I always think to myself when people say, I've never done a bean of advertising, never done any advertising at all. I don't know how true that is, because surely you must have done some at the start to get some customers. But then I always think to myself, is if you've never done any advertising, well, if you did do advertising, where would your business be? I think every business, no matter at what stage, should be advertising. Now, whether that's spending a little bit a month or a little bit of time a month, or whether that's doing a huge campaign every 6 months, well, that's up to you to decide and see where it fits in with your business. But in general, I think every gardener and every business should do some form of advertising. Now, there's some form of advertising, you're probably already doing it. So you've probably already got a signed written van. You've probably already got a uniform. You're probably doing something on Facebook. You're probably doing some form of, physical advertising. You were probably doing very, very subliminal advertising where, you're working for people that are doing the advertising on your behalf. Or you've got a sort of very, prominent gardens on very sort of prominent roads where people are driving past and seeing you working and thinking, God, that's a really nice property. God, that bloke's doing a really good job. We'll find his number. So to an extent, I honestly think that all gardeners are doing some form of advertising. Now, when you think to yourself, when you first started your business, you were hungry, you were starving, you were going out getting whatever work you could, you're running around. I remember when I first started, I hand-delivered leaflets, I knocked on doors, I dropped leaflets off, I was advertising in paper, I was doing everything to get work. It's when you get busier and busier, you do less and less and less of that. But when you speak to the people who have got the big gardening businesses and the big exterior cleaning businesses, they've got big businesses with multiple vans on the road, teams of people, because they've kept up the advertising, they've kept doing the advertising, they've kept bringing the work in. Now, don't get me wrong, depending on, your line of work, and I definitely think if you meet the right people, you meet the right customers, then you can get, you can start filling the blanks in without necessarily, looking for them blanks, if that makes any sense at all. One of my biggest customers, which if I was to equate that down to my customer base and my average cost, so my average cost, what I do is say if you do, add all your customers up and divide the total, gross profit by all that customers, that'll give you your sort of average order value. And what I do is I always think about any leads, any job inquiries. So if I do so next year I'm looking at doing a leaflet drop. That is gonna, so say for instance you do 10,000 leaflets, you roughly get one in every 1,000. I honestly think leaflets are a little bit more than that, but say if it's one, so if you do 10,000 leaflets, you will get roughly 10 inquiries, and maybe you will sort of convert, 5 out of them. So if you think to yourself, right, well, my average order value and, my average sort of job that I want is, like £30 per visit every fortnight. Well, if it's going to cost you a lot to do them leaflets, it's going to cost you a lot to get that money back, if that makes sense by what work you're looking for. So maybe that's not the right approach for your business model. Now, if you are, say, a tree surgeon or a roofer or a landscaping company, and you spend that same amount of money on leaflets and get the same amount of leads, because your average order value is somewhere in the value of like £1,000, opposed to say mine, which is probably £40, £30 to £40. Well, the same model is getting a lot better results for a different person. So I would look at that and I would think about that. If you're thinking of advertising, I would think about that first. There's no point a company saying to you, or you paying a company, or you going onto Facebook and thinking, right, I'll put £100 a day in, or I'll put £100 a week in, and you get 2 leads, and it's, two little Mrs. Such and Suches for £30. Yes, you've got her, and you've got her for the season, and for life possibly. But if she cancels, she's actually cost you money to get those leads, to get them inquiries. So I would think about that. And that's one of the things that is shaping how I'm looking at my advertising next year, is I'm only looking for work that I want to be looking for. I'm also going to be paying money for leads that I want to pay money for. I don't want to be paying, advertising to try and get, small mow and goes, when it might not cover the cost for that month or even for a couple of months. But with the exterior cleaning, where it's a higher ticket price, so my average, so I have a minimum price for gutters, which is £35, which is like the minimum charge. So if that's half a gutter run, it's £35. It's a sliding scale up from them, but I would say my average order value for a gutter job is about £60. So when you start thinking about, say, leaflets or something like that, it starts getting where it's getting that little bit more juicy. Same with the newspaper ads, it starts getting that little bit more juicy for something like that. So I've probably not done the best example of doing that, but I would definitely think about your average sort of order, especially when you're looking at these sort of acquisition costs. I've never done canvassing. I've never done Facebook, pay-per-click, but there's a podcast, the Uncleanables podcast, they talk about that a lot, and they were saying, for some of their leads coming through, it's costing them like 15 to £20 per lead. Now they're window cleaners, so if they're charging £23 minimum for a window clean, well, technically their first clean has cost them, they've made no money. If their acquisition cost for Facebook's 20 quid, well, they're paying 20 quid whether that customer accepts them or not. But if they do accept them and they cancel after the first visit, or cancel them after 2 visits, well, maybe they broke even after the 2 visits, but even then, there's still costs associated with that. So I would really, really, and this is why I always stress looking at your sort of numbers. I think people maybe think I'm overcomplicating my business, but knowing your facts and figures and knowing, what it costs you to run your business, to turn up there, your minimum order sort of cost, having a minimum price is so important as well, because and sticking to your minimum price as well. I've had it with the gutters where I've had a few inquiries, and it's been tempting to think, I'll just tell them it's 20 quid. But it robs you in the long run, let's just say. And as well, whatever inquiries you get, you will only get X amount per lead. You can't trade them. You can't say, I'll swap that minimum price job and hope for something else, because that might be all you get. So, when I first started my business, I didn't have much money. So I left my first job, and one of the things that I did, which was maybe the wrong thing to do, maybe the better thing to do, was what savings I had, I paid off all of my debts. So I paid off all of my debts, and I was debt-free when I started my business. Now, on hindsight, that's probably not the best way of doing it, because if I had a massive bill, I would have been hooped. So if my engine would have blew up or clutch would have gone, I wouldn't have been able to afford to do it. But instead of paying the car finance, the van finance off, I could have kept paying it off monthly, but had that bigger lump of money in there. So basically, money was very tight for me when I started my business. Now, that was 5 years ago, and there wasn't... I've always had a dim view of Facebook, so I'm not going to talk about this at this point in time, but I will later. So I've always had a bit of a dim view of Facebook, so I never considered that. So what I did was I tried to get the most out of what I could for free. So I printed off some leaflet, and they were rubbish. They were just cheap paper, black and white, nasty sort of leaflets. And I went around delivering leaflets. And I actually got my first customer off delivering leaflets. And I actually got my second customer off delivering leaflets. So if people say, where did you get your first customer from, Sam? It was leaflets. So I got 2 customers. I think, if I remember right, I got another customer off a recommendation. It was actually a tool guy who recommended me. And then what I did, because I didn't have much money, I went down the route of dropping business cards. So I had money to make business cards. So I got Vistaprint to do some. So I've always said this, and I think it's one of the better forms of advertising. Not the best, but it's the best in terms of, I think you get good leads from it. And if you are time rich, cash poor, business cards don't cost much. Go with a box of business cards in your pocket, so what's that, 500, and go round to every corner shop, takeaway, laundrette, pub, cafe, wherever people have to wait. Think about that, and then leave business cards there. One of the things that I did was, there was a community notice board in Morrison's, so I used to put my leaflet up there. It used to always get taken down, but I went to war with him, and I just kept putting mine up instead, and that got me work. The business cards got me work. Inside post offices, newsagents, they normally have a little community notice board up there, so I put my business card there. Typically post offices would always sort of charge you a little bit, so it was like 20p a week. Now it was ever so strange. There used to be a community notice board outside one of the main post offices in my town, and for some reason he took it down and he never put it up. But you know what? I got no end of leads from that, and I attributed it to all of the pensioners as they were waiting outside for the post office to open. They'd just sit looking at this leaflet board because it was outside the main door. And the amount of leads I got from that, okay, they weren't brilliant work, but it was work. And it didn't cost me much at all, 20p a week or box of business cards. And I like the business card trick, because if it is that people pick them up if they want one, they won't pick one up if they don't want one. They'll pick one up if they want one. Don't get me wrong, I had it where I'd put some up and I'd go in the next day for a drink and it'd all be gone. And I think, God, they've gone quick, so I'd put another stack. Turns out there was just one miserable cow that always thrown them away. But it is what it is. I think, don't be afraid to think out of the box. So there's this thing, and they call it omnipresent, where you ideally want to be everywhere. Not in a way where you never will be, but not in a way where you were over the top everywhere. We're not on about painting, red lines on, blooming roundabouts, are we? But the best example of omnipresence I can give is, there's a takeaway in my area. I've never been, but it's opened up. And when they first opened up, if ever I go, I will make a point of asking for who did the advertising campaign there, because it was brilliant. So every single house in all of the surrounding areas got leafleted, for one. So I would go to, there would be one at my house. I went to my brother's house, he had one. I went to customers' houses and I'd see them on the sideboard. Invariably, you'd see a couple blowing down the street. And then I noticed that they'd had signs put up on the roundabout. So on the main roundabout, there's a sign there, like, sponsor a roundabout. Okay. And then I'd be driving around my area, and I went to the petrol station, and right next to the petrol station, there's only one petrol station where I live, smack bang, right outside the wooden lamppost, is one of their A5 signs, or A3 signs, so a big sign, nailed to the top of a lamppost. Not right at the top, but above head height. but where you are getting out your car, it's in your eye line. So that brand of takeaway, now don't get me wrong, I've never been there, so technically it's not worked, but that brand of takeaway has achieved that sort of omnipresence where it's everywhere. You are seeing it everywhere. And like I said, I'm not a big Indian lover, to be fair. I like one every now and then, but if I was keen on, eating more Indian food, I would go there. And they've achieved it. It's omnipresence. Now, can we achieve that in our business? Yes and no to an extent. If you think about it, if you have a branded uniform, so my uniform's branded, but it's just my business initials in big block letters that are in a luminous font. My business cards are the same font. My newspaper ads the same font. If I have my van sign written, that will be the same font, same style. So, you imagine somebody walking out and about, they go Morrison's to see me with the big SGM hoodie and bright, foot tall letters on my back. Then they drive around and they see me getting out my van, same thing again. And then they go in a shop and they see my business card. And then when they see my ad appear on Facebook, they see that same sort of style of font. It starts forming links. People need to see something, is it 6 to 8 times before they make a decision on it? I think advertising should be consistent. I think consistent advertising is the best form. Don't just do a big sort of pump and dump run and then that's it. I think try and do a little bit often. So I did that, business cards, door knocking. I tell you what, if ever you want to be humbled and if ever you want to have free character building lessons. Now, I already had free character building lessons all of my working life. My first job was working at McDonald's on the dining area. So every single day I had people shouting and screaming at me because there was a pickle on their burger. I then worked at holiday accommodation where I worked, and it was completely out of my control, was very substandard. So you imagine saving up all of your working year to go away on holiday and it's shit. I was the bloke that they complained at, and I had no control over that situation. So all of my working life, I've, dealt a sort of thick skin. But trust me on this, knocking on people's doors will bring it down to a crashing height. Now, don't get me wrong. You have some good height, you have some goods and you have some lows. But you'll have people which, as you open a door, they will look at you like you have done something horrible to them. And they will tell you what to do. I've had it where I thought they were going to fist fight because I had the cheek to knock on their door. And this was in the nice parts of where I live. So like I said, door knocking, I think it does work. I think it's not for the faint-hearted. Same with leaflets. I did a leaflet drop. I did one a few years ago. There was a new build estate that had just recently sort of, had new people in, basically. I thought, what, I'll go and leaflet drop it. I did the whole of this whole one area. There was a couple of highlights. I put one leaflet through when I was walking down the street. And this woman, dressing gown, swinging round, comes storming down. You can have that back. I don't need a gardener. I said, well, do you not want to keep it in future? No. Okay, fair enough, love. And then another sort of standout one where you get the usual where you put it in the letterbox and you can hear a dog destroy it. The next one was I put a leaflet through someone's door, and as I was walking away, I could see them push it back out with their fingers, and it just fell straight on the floor. Oh, it's yours now, love. So yeah, you do meet people. Like with any walks of life, you do meet people. Did that yield any? No, it didn't. I spent an afternoon doing 2 new housing estates and didn't get a bean. But it's low. I think it's at 1 in 1,000 leaflets. But you imagine if you do 10,000, 40,000 leaflets, you're getting somewhere, aren't you then? So I did leaflets, business cards, canvassing, door knocking. Didn't spend a bean, so to speak, other than the cost of the print on them. And that was back when Vistaprint used to be really, really cheap, and I don't think they are anymore. But well, it's the world, isn't it? So I then went on to advertising in a local paper, and I have always stuck up for print, local print, physical print media. I think it's one of the best that I've used. Is it one of the best out there? I'll let you decide. But the local paper for me was, and I may as well talk about this now. If you said to me, Sam, what is the worst thing that's ever happened to your business? Well, obviously when I fell ill a few years ago, that was pretty bad, perforated bowel. But the worst business thing was actually when the local paper stopped printing. I used to pay, I think it was £12.76, so it was a weird amount, and it was every fortnight. I used to advertise early on the gutters, so gutters of its fascias, and the gardening, and I think the bill come to about £80. So I was paying about £80 for every 4 weeks. And that yielded, because that used to go into my local paper and also another town, that used to yield about, I would say, on average, about a lead per week. And I would say, and I've always had good luck converting leads, so I was getting a consistent amount of customers in. And during, peak points during the season, so start of the season, end of the season, start of gutter season, I noticed I was getting a really, really good amount of leads off that. Did it pay for itself? Hell yeah, it was really good. And then they stopped going out, he just went out of business. I think he retired or he folded, I don't know what he did. So that was it really, that was the end to that, and that was the end to one of the best chapters. Now, even with it being cheap, I took it for granted. I used to only advertise at the start of the season and at the end of the season. If I had my head on me now, and again, hindsight's a beautiful thing, I would have advertised all year round. I dread to think how much better off my business would have been. But anyway, it's hindsight. We can't change things. It is what it is. But you get what I mean, that physical newspaper. And I tell you why I like leaflet, even though leaflets have got a low return rate, and I don't know what the return rate for newspaper inquiries is, but probably around about what, if a town, if a newspaper sells 10,000 papers in a town, I reckon it won't be far off in terms of what you'll get from, leaflets. But the one thing I like about anything physical is if people are thinking about getting a gardener, considering it, or they know somebody that needs it, or they know somebody who thinks they might need a gardener, they will keep that leaflet, they will keep that newspaper clipping, they will put it in a drawer, because people are like that, people are sentimental like that. So, it's amazing how many people now know how to use Facebook, know how to use Google, but again, there's a big chunk of the population that will prefer to look in a local paper. They prefer to have two options and pick one of them two, then go on to Facebook or Google and have many, many more. So never sort of sleep on printed media. So that was my sort of advertising. I did do, and I'm going to talk about this in a separate video. I'm going to put it on the YouTube channel. I'm going to do one video on it and one video only. I had a absolutely horrific experience this year. It was very stressful, very physically stressful and mentally stressful, and I do believe one leads to making the other worse. I took out an advertising. It was a contract unbeknownst to me. It was 12 months, so I was locked into it, and I took that out, and I was promised, like I said, I'll do a video on it. I was promised X amount of leads, and I've got no leads off it at all. But they keep taking the money. So that's all in all, that's cost me about £1,500. So I'll do a video, I'll talk about it. And let's just say, if you're wondering who they are, I won't say it until the video, but let's just say they rhyme with Trekker Blade. You know who they are. So yeah, I'm going to do one video, talk about it, talk about all the experiences of it, show you some facts and figures, so you know it's right, and then that's it, and I'll put it to bed, because that's what I had to do for my own sanity. You imagine somebody taking money out of your bank and promising you something, and then you trying to do something about it, and literally getting fobbed off, getting lied to, and we're lying to you. I was ringing him and I'd be on the phone an hour and a half getting passed from pillar to post, speaking to the same department. Oh, we'll put you through to this other department. And then they put the phone down on you. Anyway, that's for a future video. That's my, 1 minute rant on them. Like I said, once I've talked about them, that's it. It's off my chest and it's done. So that brings us up to this current day. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to eat my own words. So I think I've said about Facebook a few times this video. I've always had a dim view on Facebook, if I'm being honest with you. And I'll tell you why. I did a video talking about Facebook where I actually said it's like fishing in a toilet. You know what you're going to catch. I've always had a dim view on it. I've always thought to myself, right, it's just full of people that want the cheapest. Time wasters. Now, that's true. It's true. There's no way about it. But what you need to do, and what I've done now, is Facebook, as much as it pains me, is the future of advertising or other forms of Facebook, because there'll be another Facebook in 10 years, there'll be another YouTube in 20. You get what I mean? Nothing's permanent, so to speak. It will all change, but I do think digital marketing, online marketing is going to be, in my area, the local paper went bump. So I'll jump back a little bit in time. So, no, I'll talk about Facebook first and I'll finish off about this in the end. So Facebook, it is going to be part and parcel. Now, there is other forms. There's Google SEO, there's Google pay-per-click, Facebook pay-per-click. I don't know enough about them to talk about it. But I have been doing Facebook and I have been doing Facebook advertising. And yeah, I'm willing to eat my own words. It's worked. Well, it's working, let's just say. And it's giving me a better sort of thing where I'm thinking to myself, what's it going to be like if I do this every week? Where's it going to lead? So let's understand Facebook for what it is. Everybody's got Facebook. Fact. It's very rare. I don't know anybody that hasn't got Facebook. I think Facebook, the strongest words and the strongest opinions typically win. So, and they're the ones you see. So you see the extreme ends of Facebook, the horrible comments, the vile comments. People only talk about the good or the bad through Facebook. So I was talking on a podcast to a chap who built his business up on Facebook. So I've had a positive experience. But for how many people I hear have positive experiences, there's loads more people that will all say, oh, it's just time wasters. I've experienced, try selling something on Facebook. And the thing is, it's because there's so many people on Facebook, your odds of coming across a bad experience is dramatically more because there's so many people. But how can we change that to our advantage? Why am I suddenly starting to think, you know what, Facebook's actually not too bad? I think you've got to be targeted on Facebook. Would I advertise garden maintenance on Facebook? No. Would I advertise for gutters, soffits and fascias only on Facebook? Yes. Would I advertise for Mow and Go's grass cutting service on Facebook? Yes. It's because that's what I want. It's easy to quote. It's straightforward to quote. And now what I've started doing on Facebook is I've started quoting over Facebook. So I've been advertising. So for the past 2 months, I've been building up my Facebook posts. So I'll spend a little bit of time on this. I'm not a Facebook expert, but what I think I am good at is sort of reading the room and sort of reading the demographic. Now, this is going to sound horrible, but I genuinely think most people have short attention spans. I think people want to see pictures on Facebook. They don't want to see text. Maybe I'm wrong. So I think if you want to do a Facebook page, I think the best before and after pictures are important. Now, I think in the gardening world, in my world, the best gardening before and afters are jungle gardens, if they're done well. I'm not on about, it's hard to get a jungle garden, but typically, where you do them 2 foot tall lawns and then suddenly it's edged and cut short. Yeah, the grass is a bit yellow, but it looks way better. before and after grass cuts, or striped lawns. They always look good, or a fresh cut lawn with a good, 4-wheel mower. Gutters, they make brilliant before and afters. People can see a full gutter, now people can see an empty gutter. They can see a full white gutter full of mud. They can now see an empty, clean white gutter full of mud. So I think before and afters like that. Pressure washing. I don't advertise pressure washing anymore, and I don't do pressure washing anymore. But they make for brilliant before and afters. And also, a good before and after, you don't need text. People don't need any more information other than this is what you do. You've got availability, and here's my contact details. Because people don't need to go, oh, well, how's he got to that? Or, they go, well, mine's like that. I want mine to look like that. So I think having good before and after pictures. So what I've been doing is I've been putting good before and after pictures of gutters. I've been doing a bit of a different sort of tagline for each one. So I put a post up where I put loads of empty gutters. And the point of that is to show that we take pictures of every single gutter job we do afterwards. So people have got that peace of mind that we empty gutters and we take pictures of empty gutters. They're paying me to empty the gutters. They will know they've been emptied. I've took pictures of full gutters and empty gutters so people can see the before and after. I've put pictures up of, like a jungle lawn. I've also been putting pictures up of gardening as well. So people like having that relatability. People like seeing the gardener, so to speak. So I've put a few of them up, and they're always good because it's content. It's sort of bringing people into it. One of the things I've been doing as well every single Sunday, most of the groups in where I live let you put a business post up on a Sunday. So every week now I'm going to put a gutter cleaning. So all of these gutter jobs I've been doing, I've been taking videos on the GoPro, so it's beautiful quality, before and after pictures. So I'm putting engaging content up of people where they can watch a gutter being emptied, they can see the before and after pictures, and I'm sharing them to all the local groups. Now, so far, I've had, I think, in all, I've had 5 leads, and I'm keeping a note in my diary about how many leads I've had from each Facebook post. One lead was led to, I think it was 2 inquiries off one. No, I think it's 4 leads so far. One led to 2 inquiries. One was she wanted a price for the gutters, so that's no problem. So what I've started doing now is I'm putting into place, one, I've got my minimum charge for gutters, but I'm putting a pricing structure in. So, for instance, bungalow 45 with a conservatory 55. 2-bed detached house 55 with a conservatory 65. That's my prices. That's what I think the job should be. That's what, and also as well, I'm pricing blind, so to speak. So if I go there and the gutters, need emptying, that's fine. If I go there and the gutters are rammed full of trees, it's the same. I am expecting to win some and I'm expecting to lose some. I'm hoping to win more than I lose. As well as that, I am thinking to myself, even if I get there and it's a jungle, that will make an absolutely amazing before and after picture, and that will bring in more work. So you've got to look at it like that as well. So I'm sort of carrying on with that sort of vein of thought in terms of, keep putting posts out like that. So I've had 2 leads for the first one. One lead I quoted over a Facebook picture, gave it a price, she accepted, I went and did the job, it was perfect. The second lead, she badgered for, a night, and then she never ended up getting back to me. This other Facebook posts I've put up, I ended up getting 2 inquiries, so we'll see off that, we'll see if they lead to anything. So far, so good, if I'm being honest with you. I've been really, really happy with that, and I think you should sort of focus in on stuff like that. So the advertising for the rest of the season, so next season I'm going to do the same with my gardening. So I'm going to say probably round about the start of February I'll put a few posts up over the winter period. I've got to wait till I've had me op, but if I've had me op and I'm back to working, start of February, end of January, I'm going to start putting up some posts, because I've got some videos of some winter jobs and some tidy ups and stuff. I'll start putting some posts out, of work. I might even do a stupid video of, me looking at me container and like thinking, oh, I'm a bit bored now. Anybody need any gardening work? I think you've got to think outside the box when it comes to advertising. And then start of February, I'm just going to spam the page, build my page up with pictures and videos of me mowing lawns. I've got some beautiful sort of time-lapse videos of the sun going over, absolutely crystal clear, beautiful sun going over, and there's me mowing in the background. So I'll put a post up about that, wishing the weather's coming back, and weather's coming back, nearly time to start cutting grass. And I'm going to start, like I said, I'm looking for mow and goes next season. I'm not looking for garden tidies and, jungle gardens, but I'm not looking for garden maintenance. I won't be advertising garden maintenance. I'm not going to be giving people the impression that I do any form of weeding, any form of garden maintenance. I'm going to be giving people the impression that I do grass cutting and gutters. That's all I want. Why? Because I've already got enough work on. That's the only other work that I need. And I think that's the true power of Facebook, where you can start homing in and start looking at things and start sort of, bringing the work in through that. So the plans for the rest of this season, I've got a local newspaper ad. So I took a newspaper ad out about 3 weeks ago, and that led to 6 inquiries, 4 conversions. I think off the top of my head about £700 to £800 worth of work. Also, because I did one garden and I was there over the road, the little old lady from down the road come up and said, would you mow my lawn? And then that's led to a regular cut as well. So £80 spent to get all of that. I think that's good value. I've took out another advert for another paper. That's only for the gutters and soffits and fascias, and that's priced at £80. So we'll see what sort of leads we get from that. So yeah, I'm hoping, as you can tell, you can see that I've had good luck with advertising. I think no matter what you do, I honestly think the cheap forms of advertising, you've got to do a lot of it. So if you're going to do canvassing and door knocking, you've got to do a lot of it. If you're going to deliver leaflets, you're going to have to deliver a lot of leaflets yourself, and it does take time. If you're going to do the business card drop, you're going to have to do a lot of it. You're going to have to hit up every single town, and town and village near you, multiple, and when you first start your business, that's brilliant because you're time rich. I've got time to do that. I haven't got time to do that now, so I'm going to be looking at doing this. I'll tell you why as well I want mow and goes and I want gutters, because I can slot them in. I can slot them in here, there and everywhere, and I can always fit a mow and go in no matter what. And that's an extra. So say my average order for a mow and go, typically it's around about £25 to £30. If I could do fit a couple of them in extra a week, that's an extra £60 a week. That's an extra £120 a month. That's an extra over the season. You know what? We're not far off that £1,000 just for that little bit of extra time, really. So I think that's how you've got to look at it. So I'm going to leave this video here, guys. I really hope it helps you. If you've got any questions or anything like that, shoot me an email, thegardenersshedpod@hotmail.com, and I'll do whatever I can to help you. I've got all of my old leaflets. Obviously, I don't want you to sort of copy and paste, but it's not inspirational, really. It's very simple. It's Canva finest, but it does get it. But the point I'm hoping I made in this is, yes, the cheap forms are good, but when you start paying for advertising and you do it right, that's when you get the sort of the leads coming in. I've always fought, and I've always gone about, saying the best form of advertising, the best things you can do for your business is things when you're sitting on your arse. If you're sitting on your backside and creating some Facebook posts. So for me, every single month, I'm sitting in this chair now. You can't see it. I've got my desk in front of me. I do myself a coffee, and I will schedule that month's Facebook posts. And then every Sunday at about 4:45, 5 o'clock, I'll sit in the same chair with the same cup of tea, and I'll then go to that Facebook post on my profile, and I will share it to all the local groups. It takes me 2 minutes to do that. I put a little tagline of, we've had Storm Amy come in, whatever her name is. You might notice your gutters are being a bit overflowing or water's washing out of them. Please get in touch for a quote. Whatever, I can't remember I've put. But that takes 2 minutes. And so far, every time I've done that, it's yielded a little bit of something in response. And if you think about it, like I did that last Sunday, that 2 minutes led to £70. You can't beat that, really. 2 minutes work to get £70. Yeah, you've still got to do the work. But, you imagine spending that, on a newspaper ad, or how many leaflets you'd have to deliver to get that. So, I'm going to say it now. I'm willing to eat my words when it comes to Facebook. Sorry, Mark. Right, as usual, guys, have a good day. Keep on gardening and do whatever you can to push your business at all times. Ta-ra now.